Well, welcome to a new edition of Citywide Cogs. And today I'm going to be talking with Stu because Stu is our communications director, and effectively what he has done is redesigned a whole church's everything in a matter of weeks. And so for me, it's kind of magical. I ask Stu for something and it appears and it looks really good. So I thought, mate, it'd be good to let people know what happens between the asking and the thing appearing, and for people watching, thinking about how do they work on the appearance of their church, the graphics and that sort of stuff. So maybe to start with, how did you end up doing this kind of thing?
It's interesting. I have to go back to when I got my first computer in 1999, actually. And the first thing I did was go around and create pretty graphics and labeling things. And it's just something that I've always enjoyed, just prettying things up, making things look a bit more professional. And that sort of morphed over the years to, I'm a photographer, so I got to learn Photoshop and then realized that I could do more with Photoshop with creating graphics and so on as well. So it started off more just in my hobbies and interests, and it's something that's always fascinated me. But also too, realizing that people see things differently to me. Matt, I've noticed that you look at things and you don't see things, and you go, "Well, that's fine. You know, here's a bit of paper with writing on it." And I look at it and I go, "Surely we could present that a little bit better." You know, it's not just writing on a white page. You know, we can put something on there. We can add logos. We can make it seem more us. So it has made me realise that, and seeing some other publications that the church has done over the years, that I think we can do a bit better. And some people see it and some people don't. And it just turns out that maybe I'm one of those people that picks up on things, bearing in mind that it's also frustrating at times because it gets my OCD running, thinking that should be moved a centimetre to the right. You know, I'm that sort of person as well. So there's people that aren't built that way. It can be a frustrating life being that, but it means that maybe I am the person that can just pretty things up a bit and make it more engaging for people. So it's been a combination of, the photography, the history, and just the way I'm built, I think, has left me in this place.
So how does it work when I say to you, I ring you up and say, mate, there's a pandemic and we're gonna, change the whole way we do church, and we're gonna need to redesign church, and we're gonna call it a micro church, and it just so happened that you were a big crook, which from our perspective was fantastic because you were home for the first 2 or 3 weeks of this all hitting.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
it's not very often that I think being sick was a God moment. And also the worst time to be sick of all time when the coronavirus is coming through and I end up getting a atypical pneumonia, which means I couldn't really do much. I actually felt okay, but just wasn't in great shape. But it meant that I could sit down at my computer for, I reckon, a good few weeks and just go over some of the stuff. So I really had time, which was great. We learned a lot in that first few weeks, I think you'd agree.
absolutely.
And we made some mistakes. That's the key thing through all of this, is about developing things as you go. You can start off things and they don't work, just trash them and try something new. But basically the system this time was pretty much what's the need is first. Who are we trying to talk to? Simplicity was a big thing. We've got to present things to people that aren't technologically savvy. So we had to keep things simple, which was, I think, is a really good place to start for me. Simple's always better. So that's my first thing. Like, we're trying to put across some sometimes complex things, but just trying to keep it so people can understand what we're talking about. And that's sort of grown into, when you ask me to, advertise something, I've got to think, well, I can't overdo it. I've got to keep it simple so people can see it, quickly register it, and understand what the next step is. So, yeah.
So show us, talk us through how does this actually work for you? What do you actually do?
What do I do? Well, first of all, I need people like yourself and the other staff to tell me exactly what they want. I don't like a blank canvas in a way. So if you say, I need you to advertise this thing we're doing, then I need to know what we already have. What information, what's it about? Who are we selling it to? So get that first. So I really need people in leading that event or whatever it is we're trying to advertise to go, actually, this is what it's about. So I need clear instructions as to what is actually going on. There's no point me trying to interpret what I think it might be, but because I could create something that's just not what it is at all. So whether it's the website or the graphics and so on we do, we've got to make sure that we know we're all on the same page. There's no point me creating something that's completely different to your vision. So that's sort of step one.
So maybe let's talk about the web page and the branding of the whole church. What have you done there? What were you thinking? How did that work?
Yeah, sure. Well, I can share my screen. I've got our website up here at the moment. Hopefully you've got that, Matt.
Yep.
So our website, once again, we've tried to keep fairly simple. We've got just a very basic menu options. We started off with a whole heap of things, which were actually a carryover from our previous, before the coronavirus hit, and we had lots of information that was distracting people from where we needed them to go. So once again, this has developed over time. We've kept our menu options very simple. There's only a few. This one's a direct link. The need help takes you straight where you need to go, and people fill out their needs. Connect is once again fairly simple to get people online, and we've got a marriage course coming up, so easy to click there. Our watch is once again fairly brief, and the first option is our Sunday service. So the main thing is pointing people to where we want them to go. And on our main screen here, we've got some limitations with our theme that we're using in WordPress for our website. So we just decided to keep it very simple with the sort of logo we're going for, and the two main options we want people to go to. We know people want to come to us to watch our service, and that's the existing congregation, but also anyone that might come across us and want to join in. And then connecting with people online. We know that's a big, important thing at the moment in this coronavirus time, that basically people can either connect with online or watch what we're doing. So they're our two big buttons on the front of the screen, and also being obvious within our menu as well.
So you've also got it's an orange color. We've got this new circular logo that you designed for this moment, and an outline of people from overseas wouldn't know, but this is an outline of Mount Wellington. So what were you thinking in terms of the design there?
I just wanted to keep it simple again, and just because we are Citywide, we're Hobart, and the mountain, for those that don't know, is right in the centre of Hobart City. It dominates everything. Wherever you are, you can look up and that mountain's right there. And so it seemed to pretty much cover what we are and what we're trying to achieve. If you go up the top of the mountain, you can see for hundreds of kilometres, really, right up the east coast on a clear day. So if you're up there, you can see all of Hobart, and being Citywide, it just seemed to be an image that put Hobart right up front. And so it was one of those things where I was a bit stuck, because I'd love to have people's faces and so on up there, but there's issues with privacy. So I just decided to keep it a simple image, and then just give it some texture with the shapes and so on in the background, but to keep it simple, essentially, so that our message wasn't lost and people getting distracted by other things.
How did you do it?
That is in Photoshop, and basically I have a photo with the silhouette of the mountain that I'd taken, and have just put that over a coloured background and a polygon background. So it's about 3 or 4 layers that you then sort of smush together in Photoshop, and you end up with the image. And I've been able to resize that in various ways. And
that's kind of become a theme for this moment, hasn't it? The sunset, sunrise kind of thing with the mountain, which you've also done that on our YouTube page.
Yeah, that's right. I'll show you the YouTube page. We've got currently, if I can find it.
The top right hand. There's the.
Yeah, that's it.
Your channel. Yeah.
Your channel. So we've basically tried to keep that in everything we do. We keep that sort of look, so people get to know us at this time. It's become our brand. So we want to make sure that when they see us, they're seeing the consistent logo, fonts, and the colors and look that we're after. So yeah, people recognize us and know that they're in the right place as well. For our congregants, they know that when they see that, yeah, they're home.
And I guess if you scroll down there, there's a whole lot of other graphics you've developed. Like there's the graphic for the podcast thing I do called Pastor Matt's Mates. We've got there's the orange thing for the church service that sort of it becomes our main logo. There's the midweek worship and mingle, evenings with Anne. 'Cause you've done all this. And even just down a little bit, there's the Living Faith, the sermons, and this series that we're doing right now, Citywide Cogs. All of these have been different graphics you've developed and designed. What goes through your head? How do you produce these things?
Yeah, well, basically, once again, it goes back to that, just trying to get across what we're trying to do. I've been trying to keep in mind that branding. So if you look at Citywide Cogs there, it's got that same image in the background. And one thing I've tried to do is we've worked out what fonts we want to use, that basically whenever we put something up, it's using those same fonts as well. So that there's some consistency there. Now, some of these don't quite work in that way. I'd like more consistency, say with some color and so on, but because we have been doing this on the run, things have developed and things have worked that maybe I would have done differently if I'd had time to fully, work through what I wanted to do. But essentially, and I can see that midweek worship and mingle sort of stands out there as not quite being with the same look as some of the other stuff. So I'm still learning and I'm still working things as I go. And building my own skills and stuff as well to make things more consistent and the thing is too is once you work out things like your fonts and your color, it actually simplifies everything. You've got to go to what's my default. If you said to me, Stu, I need something by 2:00 this afternoon, probably my go-to would be that orange screen with those fonts, with those logos, and I'd work it from there. If you really needed something quickly, that's a good place to start. When you've got a few basics sorted, then you can go forward. So I'll just show you, these are some of the images that I've worked up that we're actually using in our advertising that cycles through before our services. And you can see that I've tried to keep...
I think you may need to share the actual program for that, because at the moment you're still seeing the YouTube thing.
Of course, sorry. I'll try that again. But here it is here. Is that better?
Oh yeah, now that's better.
Okay, so these are our advertising images. So you can see that they've got sort of a certain look and feel while the colors change. The fonts stay the same. I've got the floating box in the middle of the image with the details on it. So tried to keep things consistent so that people recognize that it's all from the same place and it's not too distracting. So people can go and know that it's from us. As you can see, I've kept things fairly simple because these are images that are just flashing up quite quickly. Yeah.
So, and you're doing all this in Photoshop?
Yeah. So Photoshop's got a lot of, there's other programs others might use. Photoshop's just a program that I know how to use. So I've found it, having used it now for about 10 years, I can go to it and know how things move around and work. It's not really a program designed for text, so I don't ever really have big paragraphs of text in anything I do in Photoshop. Generally, these are for creating images with minimal text and just small amounts of information we want to get across. So yeah, look, if I'm doing things that may need a bit more text, I'll just go and use basic programs like Publisher or the Microsoft Suite. They're just usual programs that are fairly easy to use and actually more powerful than you realize. Even PowerPoint is good for creating these sort of images as well.
So what for people watching, thinking about this sort of stuff, what would be good for them to keep in mind? I mean, there is, at one level, we started by saying there is a natural gifting thing that is true to say, I could try really hard. I don't think I would produce what you produce. We see the world differently, and we're gifted differently, and there is a gifting thing. So it may be for some people watching this, they need to find someone who's a bit more visually orientated, detail orientated
Mm.
in their friendship group, church group, to look at this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is just to keep it simple. Just the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. Just I think find some fonts. If you've got a logo, you might already have some fonts that are in part of your logo. Just use that with what you're doing, just so that, and maybe create some templates. So if you want to create graphics, you just have some setups ready to go. But I'd keep it as simple as possible. Just try to, and consistent, so that people know when they're looking at your images that it's obviously from your church or from your organisation.
How did you choose? You say there's some standard fonts we go with. How do you find fonts, and how did you choose them? What were you looking for with the fonts we go with? Keep it simple.
Yeah, generally one of the things with the web side of things is that there's certain fonts that render well because they're part of, say, a Google Fonts type setup. So there's Google have a whole stack of fonts that when it recognised them on a website or something, it goes, yep, I know that. And so it's going to look consistent. So I sort of started with some of those, knowing that they look good and would also look good in print as well. Easy to read, fairly clear. There's also things what they call font families. So that if you get one we use is called Gotham. There's another one called Montserrat, which people use a lot. And basically they've got a thin version, a thick version, a bold version, an italic version. And so when you look at the font, you've got anything up to, well, some of them go right up to 30 options, but most of them will have about 10 options. So you can go, actually, I need a thinner font for this one. I'll just choose that one, or a thicker font, or a good bold font. If you've got a good quality font family, then there'll be different options. So you can change the look of things, but keeping that same general look of your, your look, basically. So it really helps if you can find one like that. And you can go to, I think, Google Fonts online and just scroll through until you find what it is you're looking for. Yeah.
And so roughly how long does it take you to produce one of those ads we saw, or a graphic, that kind of thing, with using what you're doing now?
Now, I mean, if you said to me, I want to advertise this, because I've got those few things in place, I think it's always good to have restrictions. Like always good to have boundaries. So I know now that it's got to be this wide, and I'm going to include that box, and it's going to use this font and one image that will be in the background. And so it's a good place to start. Just keep it simple, and have a few things that you go to, and that way you've got some starting points. If it's open slather, there's every option under the sun, blank canvas, then I find that does my head in. So if I can just go, okay, one, you've given me restrictions about what we need to say. Two, it may be, for example, we've got the marriage course coming up, and that's, I think, produced by Alpha. They've actually given photos and other information that we can use. So that means I can use their photo. I don't have to go searching for a photo. We know our font that we've chosen for the church, for these sort of things. So the moment now, bearing in mind, it wasn't like this 6 weeks ago. I was sort of, trying to rack my creative brain and searching online for what other people had done. But now that I've worked out, actually, this is what we're going to do. It might not be perfect. It might not be really modern and the best graphic design, but it still identifies us. And so that means that now, whereas in the past it might have taken me a day or two just to think through what I needed to do and find images and do things, now I could probably get something to you, I don't know, get it done in an hour. I think we did one recently, Matt, where for the Road Ahead series, and it just so happened that I was looking through some photos at a free stock photography. And this is a really good source for particularly for churches that don't have a budget. Some churches might be able to spend, I think it's, like $100 a month for unlimited stock photos to download. But you can go to, there's a great website called Unsplash, and they have just all these stock photos of people doing whatever. You type in man standing on a road, as I think I did for your one, and sure enough, that image came up, and I can use it. Now, bearing in mind with stock photography, you've got to be aware that, you know, I think for that one, it is just a generic man. We're not seeing his face. So I wasn't trying to say this man goes to our church. You know, you've got to be careful about that sort of thing, you know, presenting your church as maybe something it's not. So I'm careful with that sort of thing, but generally you can find images that just help get across what you're trying to convey. And it doesn't have to be literal, like, you know, like I think it was the road ahead. I could have just had a road, but I thought if you include a person, then that sort of gives it a bit more personality and a bit more life. So just try a few things, throw it in there. Now you can waste a lot of time going through those sort of sites. You've got to set yourself a time limit and go, okay, I've got these 3 options. I'll choose one of these now. But now I think I could do that in I think that was an hour, just going, okay, I'll choose this color. I'll choose this image. I'll go with my fonts. And after chatting with you, you know, we had that up and going.
Yeah, and I was so grateful because it's amazing how quickly you turned it around, and it looks great. And you're also able then to do a square version for the podcast version of that thing. So so really very simple. Just maybe in closing, what's the overall feel you're going for with our church stuff? Like, what's the personality you're trying to build into our church graphics?
Well, I want it to be warm, simple, welcoming, and have clear communication. People need to know that what they can find it easily. It's I think in the past some of our menus have gone click once, click twice, and you're really down a rabbit hole of 3 or 4 levels. I think it's been really good in this time just to clear the decks and just go, let's keep it simple. Now there's still some of those in there, but we want people to be able to find stuff quickly and easily. And your website is a good central source of information for people for a bunch of reasons. So if we can keep all of the information up a level and close and easy to find, then that's a good way to go. Plus I try to include our people in there as well. Now that's a bit harder with privacy nowadays. You've got to be careful about publishing photos of your congregants and get their permission. You might have seen on the YouTube banner, we've got some photos of people there, and they're photos that people supplied to us knowing that they'd be used in that way. So always make sure you get permission before you use an image in public like that. But that's one thing I want to do, is get more of our people in there. Now it's good to have quality photos, but I think it was described to me once, rather than having stock photos of perfect smiling people that you've got off a stock photo site, you're better to have an ordinary photo of your people with their permission than trying to create something that you're not. Yeah. So that'll be something we work on in the future, just getting more of our people with their stories into our website for people to see who we really are. We don't want to present ourselves as something we're not. I think I've spoken to you before, Matt. We want to present ourselves warts and all. We're not trying to be perfect. And like all I'm doing here, I'm just a pretty ordinary person, really, who's got a few skills, just trying to do the best I can and learning as I go. You don't have to have it perfect.
Just maybe one last question in closing. What are some of the resources that have been helpful? You've already mentioned Splash something or other. Other sites people can look, what tools, that kind of thing that might be worth pointing people in the right direction for that kind of stuff.
So basically just what I start with, the main programs I use are Photoshop, the Microsoft Suite. You'd be surprised what you can do, as I said, in PowerPoint, in Word. You can do a lot of stuff there. I use programs like the one you mentioned, Unsplash. If you just Google Unsplash, it's a free stock photography site. And I've actually got quite a good range of Christian themed images and so on. There's some people that have decided to add those photos there for use for free. And there's a bunch of other free stock photography sites around the place as well. So just Google free stock photography and you'll get there's a good 5 or 6 that I think you can go to, and they're for illustrations as well. There's still a bit of Googling. You look for stuff, and I tell you what, that is what I will say to people. Get onto Google, just Google design ideas. Just see what other people are doing and get some ideas yourself. Now, you might not be able to pull them off exactly, but they give you some really good ideas as to what you can do. And you might be able to do your own version of that for your church. Be careful about pulling others' images and advertising images off the web, but maybe you can just give it inspiration for you. Go to places like Pinterest. Pinterest is really good for seeing what other people are doing. You can create your own boards of design ideas, and occasionally I go back to that. But yeah, there's a lot of good information out there, and there also is other Facebook resources. There's pages like church communications pages. There's sermon design pages. There's all sorts of groups that you can join, which people put their ideas, even sometimes they put their images up there that you can take and use for your church. So that there's so much stuff out there. The great thing too is at this moment, I have to say, Matt, is that we're not printing stuff. So it's so good. Everyone's, as a church, quite often we get caught up printing things and it's painful. But the great thing about this time is that we're all just producing stuff for screens, and it frees up a lot of time. it's so good. I hate standing around a printer, and I think enjoy this time. It's a good time in that way, and yeah, I've been glad not to have to stand around in that office just waiting for the printer to go.
Well, mate, this has been great. I think this gives beautiful insight into some of the thinking in terms of the graphics, and that really, like I've said to my wife a number of times over the last few months, geez, Stu makes us look like we know what we're talking about. Which, if that was just the one goal, it's a pretty good goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what I'm trying to achieve. We're trying to make ourselves look. I suppose we're not trying to let things be a distraction. I don't want people to go, oh, gee, what's that image about? And really we're all about preaching the gospel and, building disciples. That's what I don't want anything to distract from that. We're about helping people. So I just don't want any of what I do or what we're trying to communicate get in the way of that bigger picture.
Oh, mate, I'm so grateful. Thanks for this. I think people will probably find it helpful to hear what goes through your head and through your computer, and out the other end, stuff that looks really good. Well, I guess I'm not sure what we'll talk about next week, but I know this has been helpful. Thanks, mate.
No worries.